Bright Bites TV. Our topic for discussion today is the Constitutional Convention for New York State. Coming up on this November 7th, New Yorkers will once again be given a choice of whether or not they'd like to have a constitutional convention. I don't know if it's fair to say they'll be giving a direct choice because the ballot that's coming out, the Constitutional Convention option will not be on the front of the ballot, it will be on the back of the ballot. So unless you are more aware and you know what's going on, you'll have to flip that ballot over to let people know. So I have with me today Mike Reilly, and he will be giving us a little bit of information, and we're going to kind of do a point-counterpoint on the Constitutional Convention, the pros and cons. So Mike, what do you think?
Well, first I think it's wrong that it's on the back of the ballot. It should be on the front. People need to be aware of their options.
But wouldn't that be a perfect way of the government hiding this option from the public by not letting them see it up front?
Well,
does it really make that much difference? I mean, don't you turn your ballot over anyway?
No, not unless you know that you're looking for, right? The regular person that's going to the polls doesn't understand that, doesn't know that all the time, right? And it's things like that we need to highlight. I think last I heard, I thought Governor Cuomo was in support of opening up the Constitutional Convention. This is every 20 years where New York State voters get to decide whether they want to open up the convention.
So what's the big deal? Why are some people upset that they say no, we want to vote no for Constitutional Convention? Well, where's the damage?
Well, if they vote for a Constitutional Convention, it actually opens up the books for all sorts of laws to change.
What books?
So it opens up the Constitution.
The New York State Constitution.
Yes, where you can go in and change any law. So what happens is if we wind up, if the Constitutional Convention gets approved, so then now they put together a committee, and it's selected the committee members, and then they go through each law and they look to see what they want to change, what they want to amend.
But what's wrong with that? So if we do, it's every 20 years that we do this?
Yes.
So if we do this every 20 years, the business climate today is not the same as it was 20 years ago. A lot of technologies that we have today didn't even exist 20 years ago. So what is possibly wrong with opening up a constitutional convention and re-examining the way we did business or decided to do business 20 years ago? Why can't we reset that scale and move forward for the next 20 years?
Well, we do that already in the legislature, right? We have our legislators, they change laws, they amend things that are already on the books.
So you could be specifically talking about the tier system that we have for our pensions.
Absolutely. For public employees in New York City, New York State, they created a tier 6, which actually increased the amount of service time that a member had to put in to be eligible for full pension benefits. So it's not only the pensions that can be impacted by this, it's any law. You can have environmental laws, you can have anything changed. And all it takes is get a few people that are on that committee, that are appointed, that have an agenda in changing certain things. So it opens up a broad spectrum.
Well, I mean, I'm certainly a believer that as far as the pension system is concerned, when you took a job and you were guaranteed something, that you should be able to get what you were promised. I'm not overly happy, unless there was a consensus within that organization to say, okay, maybe we would take less.
And that's one of the issues, that part of the pensioners can be impacted by this that have already been retired. So you're talking about, and I don't know the exact numbers or how substantial it is, but any time a benefit would be removed, it's possible because of the convention.
But that's one thing. But you also mentioned EPA laws. Lord knows that we need to review some of the EPA laws, environmental protection, and then what's a wetland, what's not a wetland. You want to build a house, you want to build a factory or something like that. Sometimes the zoning requirements or just the laws through the EPA are ridiculous. They don't necessarily match the technologies we have today. So we could possibly change that.
We could, but we can change that at the legislative session as well, without having a constitutional convention, right? And let's be clear that when the Constitutional Convention, if it is approved, people that vote, if the majority of the people in New York State vote yes, then the committee's put together, and then it's not looked at for another 2 years.
So what's not looked at for another 2 years?
It's not voted on the changes until another 2 years. So you're looking at a long, tedious process. And just as we know, many times when you put together committees, the focus gets hijacked, and an agenda is pushed forward where they concentrate on changing only certain things, and that unfortunately happens in many organizations.
So I think that we should vote yes, and I would suggest and I would urge the public from New York State to vote yes in favor of constitutional convention. I don't really ever think it's a bad time to take a look at things that we've decided in the past and see if they meet modern standards. So that would be what I would say. I'm also happy with the fact that we could possibly change some of these things legislatively. I'll give you the last word on that.
Well, I'm against the Constitutional Convention. I'm going to vote no. I urge many of my fellow police officers and public servants to vote no. If there's any changes that need to be made, they can do it at the legislative session. And that's where we hold our elected officials accountable. And that's where we should do it. And, but the one thing I will, and I think we both agree on, is that it shouldn't be on the back of the ballot.
Definitely should not be on the back of the ballot. That puts it on the back burner. That's hiding it from the public. But right at this point in time, there's nothing we can do. So, Mike, I want to thank you for coming on. Point counterpoint there. This is Sam Pirozzolo with Right Bites TV, and until next time, thank you very much.